We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to another edition of AVRant. I'm Tom Andrew, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AVRant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered, and we're still not at episode 1000 yet. It's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen for a while. But we've definitely got a countdown now because I only put in a single decimal point. So
I will tell you, I have everything on my ends ready to go. I'm waiting for some stuff on the other ends.
You sure are. Yes. No.
I got the last of what I needed to get done today,
okay,
and I have been the one holding it up. So you can all blame me.
No.
Rob has been like, oh, I've got plenty of time because Tom's been sick and procrastinating and his TV's broken. He's got other things to worry about. And then I suddenly got on it all at once.
I mean, I figured the deep freeze would slow you down. It's legitimately colder in Florida than it is in Vancouver right now.
It's so cold. You do not understand. That kid in A Christmas Story, you know, that's what we all feel like here because none of us have cold weather clothes. Right. So all we can do is layer. Yeah. So we're just like multiple of everything. I mean, my wife we went out to walk the dogs this weekend.
Yeah.
And my wife was wearing like a sweatshirt and two jackets.
Okay.
It's like, jeez.
No, that's actually not that ridiculous. That's I can get.
It is when you look at the thickness of the jackets because they're not that thick. So it's not like you're doing multiple layers. So yes, it is legitimately cold here. It snowed, or there were a little bit of snow here and there throughout Florida. For those of you that deal with Fahrenheit, I don't know what this is in Celsius, but we have been hovering around in the low 40s.
Oh, right. Okay.
Just constantly.
I mean, that's on the plus side of zero, but
it is on the plus side.
At single digits.
It is
down in the single digits.
Never been this cold here. Like as far as I know,
Right.
Definitely not since I've lived here. But it's never been this cold here for a lot of people. Not only that, because when the cold front came in, because of how air works with stuff like that, the cold air came over the top of the warm Gulf, and that caused ridiculous winds Saturday night. I mean, and it wasn't just like, oh, this wind is kind of bad. I mean, it was like freezing wind blowing you around. My poor son he's got he bought himself a Honda Fit, which is a very small little hatchback car. And he was driving from Tampa to here and from here back to Tampa on that day. And he was like, I was afraid my car was going to blow. We were like, you need to call us when you get home so we know your car didn't blow off the bridge because you're driving across Tampa Bay.
It's surface area to weight ratio. That's what you got to worry about there as far as being a sail.
Oh, my goodness. So, yes, it has been cold here. And we are not, as a people,
right?
We're not handling it well. People are like not going out and everything else. There was a bike ride, like a big bike ride. I don't know if it was big. There was a bike ride that was supposed to happen Saturday. It did happen Saturday and Saturday morning. And Saturday morning was actually not too bad. It was a little drizzly, but the temperature was on high 50s, which is the lowest I will cycle in.
Okay.
Is the highest is high 50s. So 57 is like my cutoff. If it's lower than 57, I'm not.
That's reasonably warm to me, but all right.
I understand, but yes, but for cycling, it's too cold. Anyways, for me, for the type of clothes I have, if I bought other stuff, it would be fine. But I'm not going to do that because it would never get used, except for right now. And so we are. So there was this ride, and they were riding from the north down to the south, and then back again. It was like a 100 mile ride or something like that. It was for some charity. I don't know what it was for, and I was looking at the wind, and it was just picking up all day. Right, so it started in the morning. It wasn't too bad. The temperature was dropping, and the wind was picking up, and it was out of the northwest, and they are going to have to cycle 30 plus miles into a headwind with dropping temperatures the entire way. I'm like,
uncomfy.
I am Ubering. If I wasn't going on the ride anyways, but I would have been Ubering guaranteed. I would have called somebody just like, come get me. This is not. This is not
little
happening.
bit greater distance and adverse conditions versus Thunderbolt Ross's 5-mile stationary bike ride, right?
Right. Little 5 miles. 5
The
miles.
whole 5 miles.
5 miles is what I rode to get to my ride,
Right, yeah,
where I would ride 40 miles. So it's like not a big deal. Update on the TV.
Yeah.
I called them after the podcast last week, or
Okay.
I think, and I said, listen, I'm getting crazy messages from Samsung. Like, it makes no sense. They keep rescheduling me for like weird days, and then they cancel it, and then your service has been canceled, and blah blah blah. And so I called the service people, and I'm like, listen, what is happening? And they're like, listen, we were waiting for the part, and I'm like, I understand that, but why am I getting all these weird messages? They're like, just automated. We can't do anything about that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. What's happening though? Because my TV has been out for like a month, and I would like to get it fixed. And I'm not mad at them. Let me be very clear.
Right,
I'm being very polite, and because it's not like they have any power over
They're
this.
not
They're waiting for a
manufacturing
part.
it. They're a repair place. Yeah.
So, and I'm sure there's some sort of system they have to go through before it gets kicked up high enough for somebody to say, just give that man a new TV. And if I called and was like a Karen about it or whatever, a Chad or whatever we're calling the male version of that, maybe I could make things go faster. But I don't need that kind of negativity in my
I was
life. And I
thinking the
don't want to
opposite
do
direction.
it. Yeah. So I just said, hey, so what's going on? Like, listen, we can see the tracking on the part. It's gonna be here Friday. We're scheduling you for Monday morning, and we will be out Monday, guaranteed. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you're sure the part's gonna be here? They're like, it is. We can see the tracking.
But weather, Tom.
So
weather.
Yes. So I get a call. I get a text Monday morning. We are your service is going to be out. We will let you know when we're close. And I've already received a couple texts from this man, because not only did he come and he was the one that said, "Oh, this is not the right part. We need a different part," and then he also left his drill, so he had to come back and he texted me about it. So I texted him back and I said, "Listen, I'm going to be at work, but I'm 10 minutes away, so just give me a heads up when you're close, and I will come over.
Okay.
I will come home." So he said, "No problem." And then I got a text that said, "We're 3 minutes out." I'm like, okay. So you're going to be waiting for 7 minutes. I'm sorry about that, but I told you I was 10 minutes away. So I rolled up, and he gets out of the truck and goes, "Bad news, boss." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "The part didn't come in." I'm like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah. Because we said we'd be there guaranteed, I guess. So
I guess. But I think what happens, and he didn't really explain this because obviously he had other jobs to do, but he's like, I think what happened is, he's the service tech. He gets there, he's got his list of things to do. That somebody else packs the truck for him, and he goes to all the places. And he got to my place and spent 7 minutes on my driveway, looking at his phone, going, "What the heck is this part?" And couldn't find it in the truck.
Well, then, it's not an entire panel then, because that would be very obvious if it were.
It would be very obvious. It is. What it is, though, it is the panel that he's. They are replacing the panel. They're replacing the screen.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I
Which
thought.
I'm like, just give me the TV. How much more do you have to replace at this point? Just give me a new TV.
Exhaust all options.
So he's like, "Listen, he showed me his phone. He's like, it is in Texas right now. I don't know why it's not here, but we will reschedule you for the minute it gets here." I'm like, "All right, man. I mean, I don't know what you want me to do." So
being in the country in the U.S. is not like being in the country in most of Europe type of thing, where
right.
That's
where I'm like, "Hey, it's just 2 hours away. I'll go drive and get it."
That could be a 3-day train trip across the country.
That's if there are trains that come here, but I don't know that they ship stuff that way. But yes, so still broken TV. Wife's still a little bitter about it.
Well, yeah.
So we haven't watched anything. We've been paying attention to sports that are going to be in the Winter Olympics in Milan.
Yeah.
So we've been watching ski jumping, which I have never watched before. And we don't really understand what's going on. Exactly. We were like looking up the rules while we were watching it. Like, what's the deal with this green line? Like, what is this green line? Like, sometimes they get way past it, but they're not in first. I don't understand what's going on with this green line. So there's like a laser that they shoot out across the snow so that the audience can see it, and sometimes the skiers can also see it. I don't know. It's a very strange sport. And my wife's like, "It feels like it's luck." I'm like, "It can't be luck." She's like, but it feels like it's luck. Like if you get lucky, but they like take into account like wind speed and wind direction, and they take points away based on how the wind was the minute.
Yeah,
they keep measuring it until the second you leave the jump.
Well, yeah, because I mean. Yeah, someone who had the wind at their back versus someone who was going into a headwind, that's not the jumper's fault. They have no control over that. And
so, it's like we read all the rules. We're like, man, this sounds like super fair, like as far as these things go. Because, I mean, downhill skiing and stuff like that, the conditions get worse.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, sucks to be you. Should have gone first.
Yeah, the moguls are that way too, right? Like, like it's you don't want to be the very first down the mogul run. But certainly
you certainly don't want to be the last.
You don't want to be the last.
As somebody who has skied moguls before, I grew up skiing. I can tell you when they're really carved up, it is no fun. It is none fun. So, yes, TV is
a bummer. That's a bummer.
I don't think we're going to get to episode 1,000 before. Maybe that's the problem. I'm waiting for my TV to get fixed so we can get to episode 1,000.
Yeah, that's a good enough excuse.
Yes, we do have plans for episode 1,000. That's why we're procrastinating here and we're putting it off. There's going to be a big thing that's going to happen. Hopefully, that everybody's going to be praised. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a thing.
I mean, big commensurate with our listener numbers. It's about right.
Well, maybe our listener numbers will go up after that. Who knows?
It could be. Who knows?
So yes,
I know they won't. There you go.
So that's what's. I don't think anything else exciting. Oh, I will tell you that we got a rug.
Okay. For the theater or for the bedroom?
No, the theater already has a rug.
Yeah.
So I got a rug from the theater from Wayfair, which is a website that I think most of you know. It's sort of like mostly furniture and houseware stuff, but it has other things in there, and it's fairly inexpensive comparatively speaking. Though there were some, it's kind of a cross between. To me, in my mind, maybe I'm wrong. It's a cross between Etsy and Amazon. Somewhere between those two things. And I'm kind of trying not to shop Amazon. That doesn't really matter. It seems like the oligarchs own everything, so no matter what you do, you're still putting money in their pocket. But
seems like quite the club, according to around 3 million documents or so. Quite the club.
Yes, at least they have a clubhouse. Well, they used to.
Do they?
So we ordered a rug. I ordered the rug and the rug pad from Wayfair for the home theater. And so I got a 9x7 or whatever it was. And the reason I ordered it from there was because I needed a size that was not on Ruggable, which is the one I wanted to order from because Ruggable has the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
And the Star Wars stuff didn't come in the size I wanted. I was very bitter and I couldn't make it fit. I didn't think the door would open. So, or it gets stuck on the rug or whatever. I didn't want to deal with that. So I ordered from Wayfair and I got like a rug pad and the rug and I had to cut the rug pad down myself and, sort of do the whole thing. And I did it and it was fine. Look, it looks fine. It looks okay. The rug pad is kind of under there or whatever. And overall, I'm happy with the rug. I'm kind of happy with everything.
Okay.
So for the bedroom, we ordered from Ruggable, which was more expensive. Ruggable was more expensive, and we got the rug in, and it was like that. They call it a tufted all-in-one. It's like, oh, you don't need to order in a rug pad because it's so nice and thick, and it has a non-slit back or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. We'll just order that. My wife went, it's not thick enough. I want it to be more plush than that. So I went back to Ruggable and I ordered their rug pad, which I wasn't really paying attention, but it was also more expensive than the stuff I got from Wayfair. Overall, the whole experience was quite a bit more than the Wayfair experience. So we get the rug in, and it's nice, but it's kind of, instead of rolled up, it's kind of folded in a box, which was weird, but it was relatively light or whatever. The rug pad comes in, it's also folded in a box, and I'm like, this thing is ridiculously heavy. Like, why is this so heavy? So I take it out, and I put it up this weekend, or I put it out this weekend, and it's like, those interlocking rubber pads, that you like gyms or whatever. Yeah. This has, like, if you took the 8x10 and down from the 10 side, right in the middle of the rug, you cut that. Cut those little, Lego pieces or whatever, puzzle pieces right down the middle of this thing, and then you folded it in fours. So there was 2 halves.
Okay.
They're all 4 of them 4s, and they're put in this bag and put in this box and sent to you. That's what it was. And there's only one way to put it together, but it doesn't really matter because the top and the bottom are both the same. They're both the non-stick stuff, kind of the non-slide stuff, so that the rug doesn't slide on top and so that the pad doesn't slide on the ground. So it had to take the bed and everything out of the bedroom, cleaned everything really good, mopped everything really good, got it nice and clean, put the rug pad in there, so you pay. This is one of the things that I keep having to learn in my old age. Sometimes you pay more and you're not really getting anything for it, right?
Sure.
Sometimes I pay more for something and I'm like, I don't know why I paid more for this than for this other thing. And sometimes that's ignorance on my part. And sometimes it's just like, well, it says Gucci on it or it says Nike on it or something like that. And that's what you paid more for it. But sometimes you pay more and you actually get something. That was the case here.
Okay.
This thing was so dead easy to set up. And it was perfectly cut. It looks, it looks professional. And I am certainly not a professional. Compared to the rug, in the home theater, the rug in the home theater looks fine, but there is this clearly defined rug pad underneath here with a nice, smooth transition to the rug coming over the edges of it, and it, lying nice and flat. The rug is a beautiful color, and it looked way better than it did on the computer or on my phone. And I'm just like, that's why we paid more for it. That's why we paid. Finally,
Good.
I got something where
feels
at the
like
end,
value.
Feels like value, and you're like, well, yes. You're set up with the rug pad, and that maybe you didn't do as good a job as you could have, but you only have to do it once, and then it's done, and you never look at it again. That's true, but that ease of setting up and that ease of the amount of time I spent trying to get the rug pad to fit correctly and to make sure that I wasn't messing anything up, and the stress that I was under to make sure that it was right. I should have just gotten I just felt like I really got something for it. So that's an unsolicited ad for the Ruggable situation.
Definitely not sponsored. That's
no. Ruggable does not exist.
Once they build up a good reputation, they can start cheaping out and lowering the quality, because that seems to be the way of things. But for right now,
I was super impressed. I was surprised how easy that was, as far as like the it doesn't seem like it took that much time. The rug pad I got from Wayfair, it literally looked like that somebody had a big roll of them, rolled it out, kind of measured it, and then just took a semi-sharp X-Acto knife and just went down the side, and it was kind of had a frayed edge the entire way. It didn't look very good, And then I don't think it was very square either. And I had to kind of square it up and everything. So this was just like dead on, looks perfect. The rug is perfect as far as the size of the rug compared to the rug pad. It just, everything worked well together. So there you go.
Okay.
What's going on with you, Rob?
Not a ton of updates. I mentioned last week I'm not going to go into any details whatsoever, but had a work thing going on, so just can happily report it's all smoothed over, everything's good now. So that was a nice relief. Got that off of my mind.
I have no recollection of you saying that.
That's right. I just said it very. I went into zero details, so. But there you go. I'm just saying, I've got a weight off my shoulders, so that's nice.
I've got my slippers on, and I had just gotten out of the shower, and now my feet are getting cold, so I might have to go put some.
You would think.
And Rob might be getting a phone call during this podcast, so it's going to be exciting for all of us.
There could be an edit.
Yeah, there might be, or not.
Or not. There's definitely no guarantee that call is coming. It's just a possibility. I let Tom know.
All right, so we talked about you, talked about me. What did you watch?
Yes, so
I didn't watch anything because I still have a TV.
That's right. I watched one movie this week. I was looking at the Oscars nominees list and seeing if there was anything available that was the right amount of time and tickled my fancy. So I went ahead and watched Sentimental Value. This did come out in 2025, and I wasn't familiar with this at all, but they prominently showed there. You got Stellan Skarsgård, who I always enjoy, so I was like, okay, and it's a straight ahead drama. So mostly spoken in Norwegian. There's a little bit of Swedish spoken language in there, and some English as well.
I was going to say Ella Fanning speaks Norwegian.
Nope, nope. She was speaking English in this. That's Elle Fanning. The lead of this movie is Renate Reinsve, Norwegian actress, and then she also has a sister who is definitely a supporting character in this, played by Inga Lilles. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her last name, but all four of those actors are nominated for the Oscars in either lead or supporting roles, and well deserved for the acting side. Some subtle acting here, some very, very skilled acting going on. Now, Stellan Skarsgård, really playing against type as a little bit older gentleman now, can turn on the charm when he wants to, and yet, oh boy, can he convey that is the weight of the world on his shoulders. Really tough. You never seen Stellan do something like that before, right?
Right.
but he's always fantastic. Renate Reinsve, what a performance here. And then also, Elle Fanning's role in this movie is a really, really challenging one. So what we have going on here, just the basic, like I say, it's very much a straight ahead drama, but this is basically a story about some generational trauma. It is being stuck in individual stages of grief and really not being able to get past it, and just communication has broken down within this family. And that's the what we're dealing with now. Stellan's character, he is a film writer and director. Mostly has been doing documentaries, but has done one sort of heralded feature film back when his daughters were young children. And then now has written a new feature film that he wants his daughter to star in. And he said, I wrote it for you, but she... communication is broken down in this family. There's, like I said, generational trauma. She wants nothing to do with him. And so he goes to Elle Fanning's character, who is an American actress. And so she's supposed to be a very popular, well-known, good young actress. But she doesn't speak Norwegian, and he originally wrote the script in Norwegian, and he wrote it for his daughter to play, and it seems very autobiographical. It seems to be entirely about his mother and what happened to his mother, but he keeps saying, this movie is not about my mother. He doesn't say what it is about, but he says, this movie is not about my mother, even though it seems entirely like it is. And so Elle Fanning having to play this role, it is a really challenging, thankless role for an actor, because you're told that she's a good actor. You're seeing they're doing rehearsals, and you are supposed to get the feeling that she's not doing a particularly good job, but not because she's not a capable actor, but just that she's not quite right for this role. Like, that is a subtle thing to pull off, Like, you have to be an actual actor in real life, portraying someone who is a good actor but not quite right for the role that they're playing. Like, that is layers deep to go down. And I think she nailed it. You're watching these scenes that she's rehearsing, and you're like, well, that's not great. But she's not bad. She's not playing a bad actress who's obviously incapable of performing this role. You're just like, it's just not great somehow. And I'm like, wow, that's a subtle line to walk as an actor in real life. And then for Renate Reinsve to come in, and obviously, as you would expect in this movie, you eventually see her playing some of these very same scenes that we saw Elle Fanning's character rehearsing. And when you say the phrase natural acting, which again is really tough to pull off, just the sensation that you're not watching any acting at all. You're just watching a real life person doing exactly what we're supposed to be seeing in the scene, which is someone who has mostly done stage acting, but now she's supposed to be, doing this film, doesn't really want to be there, but then ultimately does read the script and realizes that it is a role that she should play, and having all of that layers and being like, yep, nailed it. Flipping nailed it when you watch the scene. So understated, and yet that's exactly what it should have been. And so emotionally impactful to watch the scene play out. even when the camera isn't rolling and she's just reading the script to herself. Like I say, the subtlety in the acting in this movie is spellbinding, and that's why it absolutely deserves its nominations. All of these actors deserve the nominations that they got, and yet you can't point at anything and be like, whoa, what a bravada performance, like what a grab you by the collar and make you pay it. It's just like, no, it's spellbinding in its subtlety, which, wow, is that a difficult thing to pull off. So difficult to say that this is any sort of like a home theater showcase, although there is some gorgeous photography in some shot in Norway as far as I'm aware. And yes, some gorgeous photography, but sort of sporadically, not the entire thing. There is some narration in Norwegian, which is very well written, metaphorical language, symbolic language that's going on there. So yeah, like this is an artistic movie for sure. It's a straight ahead drama. Absolutely straight ahead drama. It's not like bordering on other genres whatsoever. I'm not sure if it's autobiographical for the writer. It's one of the movies that feels like you would think that it is.
It sounds a lot like it. Yeah. Whenever the main character is a director of movies, you're like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. And there's a little bit of that. The Academy is always going to go for, healing through making a movie. Like they're going to love that theme.
Right.
But none of it is ham-fisted or hanging a lampshade on anything. Like it all feels very grounded, very real. And like some of it, you're kind of like, at moments, the daughters, you're like, it's a little bit woe is me. Like nobody here has a bad life. All of these people are living, nobody's struggling type of thing. It's not that type of thing. But it's like, you know what? You're allowed to have depression. Like that's like you don't really get a choice in that. And it's natural to be stuck and not know how to get yourself out of it, and to attempt to use the only tools that you're familiar with, but sometimes they don't work, and you have to learn a new tool, or you have to see things from a new perspective. Like it's all feels very earned and very understandable. And I think this is a movie that, if you've had some experience with acting or anything with filmmaking, you'll probably appreciate it a little bit more. Certainly, if you're looking for action and everything, there's none of that to be found. But if you're in the mood for that is some skilled acting that I'm watching, and you're going to appreciate it on that level, then it's certainly worthy of praise. So I recommend Sentimental Value for sure. Even though it's all just talking, and even the emotions are deeply felt, but not over the top expressed at all. It's all there in the subtext. It's all there in the subtlety. But like I say, it's spellbinding. It never felt like this movie was dragging for a moment. Never felt like I was gonna look down at my phone. Like I want to see how this plays out. This isn't some kind of drastic universe-changing event that's taking place, but it's these people's lives, and it's completely empathetic and sympathetic. And yeah, I really, really liked it. So well worth a watch. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't normally listen to you talk about dramas and that sort of thing, and think at the end, I might like to see that movie. I would like to see this movie. This sounds interesting to me. Not the least of which is because I like both those actors. Yes. Stellan and Elle.
Yeah. And you're going to like Renata Reinsve after you've seen her, and you're going to like
I'm
Inga.
Sure I will.
They're very, very good.
Yeah, so I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
It's funny too. When I looked at Renata, Renata and Elle, and you look at them, just kind of, they look enough alike.
That's right.
You're like, I can see why.
That's not by accident.
Yeah, I can see why they would have cast Elle in the role that was written for this other person.
And Renata also bears a strong resemblance to Caitlin Dever. I find their faces very, very similar. In fact, when I saw the still images, I was like, is that Caitlin Dever? I was like, no, not quite, but yeah.
Interesting. Well, if I ever get a TV.
That's right.
I might watch it.
Yeah.
It sounds like something my wife would like too.
Oh, yes, I think so.
All right, let's get to the podcast. This is AVRant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV questions. To get your questions answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. Go to the website. You can find our shows, our show notes, links to any products that we'll be referencing, as well as a Flickr album to follow along with the pictures that we'll be referencing. Older shows will be there as well. If there's a couple of them, you can go back in time.
Just a few.
We've got to thank our listeners of the week. Is that where we're at? No.
Oh, we didn't do all the contact info?
Yeah. Facebook.com/AVRant podcast, YouTube.com/AVRant. You can contact Rob directly by Rob at AVRant.com. His socials is at First Reflect. I'm Tom at AVRant.com.
Oh yeah, I guess I can also mention I cannot be reached on X anymore. That I have closed that account completely entirely.
Oh, I did that a long time ago.
Go ahead and assume whatever reasons you might want to for that. But yeah, there is no reaching me on X anymore.
No. Do you mean Twitter? Oh, right. Okay. Right.
No, I'm going to call that X. I miss Twitter. I don't miss X.
That is true. I loved Twitter for a while. When I was in Australia, I loved Twitter for a while.
Yeah.
And then I don't anymore.
Indeed.
Listeners of the week, become a listener of the week, support the podcast in some way. One of the ways you can do that is going to avrant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and send us a PayPal donation. This week, Paul did that. So thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, Paul, thank you for that PayPal donation. Really appreciate that financial support.
If you want to support us monthly, you can sign up to become a patron over at patreon.com/AVRantPodcast. There, we have currently 121 patrons, including Alvin. So thank you very much to all of our patrons.
Yeah, once again, that is patreon.com/AVRantPodcast. If you'd like to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation, so big thanks to our 121 patrons over there. Alvin, thank you for being one of them. I will just mention, there was a movie code that came in on Monday, so I didn't have it. We'll mention it. We'll mention it next week. Yeah, you haven't tested it. We'll mention it next week. But yeah, we just so the person who sent that is like, hey, did they receive that code in the email? Yes, we did.
As far as we know, our email seems to be working. We haven't had anybody complain. So, yeah. So,
except for Lee's. Lee's is not working.
Lee's is not working. I'm not setting that back up again. So we also got notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going from Sam, from Nathan, who says congrats on eventually hitting 1,000 episodes.
Right.
The number.
That's right.
Alvin, who says he's been content with his setup, so that's why he hasn't written to us in a while, but he wanted to congratulate us on 1,000 episodes eventually, and he still listens every week. Brandon, Mohsen, Brian, sometimes life gets hard for a while, and being able to feel like he can just hang out with us for a couple hours each week and talk about home theater and AV is a genuine help. So thanks, he says. Mm-hmm. Paul, Chris, and Mark. So that's Sam, Nathan, Alvin, Brandon, Mohsen, Brian, Paul, Chris, and Mark. Thank you for thanking us.
Yeah, I'll say the names one more time. We got Sam, Nathan, Alvin, Brandon, Mohsen, Brian, Paul, Chris, and Mark. Thank you so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. Really appreciate them. Big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and sending their questions. And I just wanted to mention on that what Brian said there. It's like, I've certainly many times debated do I want to be the person who bites my tongue about world events? Do I want to speak up? Do I is this a platform? If it were a platform, should I use it to say something? It's like, you know what? I completely get the people who are just like, honestly, I like something where we're not going to completely ignore the world, but at the same time, it's like we are going to use it as a little bit of a, hey, let's talk about something we genuinely enjoy and we all agree on and all want to just commiserate together. And I'm like, yep, I feel along those lines. So if you're ever wondering my moral stance on the whole thing, I'm sort of falling into that camp, at least for now.
I'm more of a ostrich with my head in the sand right now, trying to
Fair
ignore
enough.
as much as possible because I live in Florida, so there's a lot going on over here. I don't know. If
Is
you guys
there?
know. In the news, Flat Panel HD got the scoop from LG Display that this year's OLEDs.
WOLEDs, yes.
OLEDs TV models will utilize 3 different OLED panel manufacturing processes, so there are bigger differences between the B6, C6, and G6 than in years past. Mm-hmm. The B6 series will use new, less expensive to manufacture at least, OLED SE panels that LG Display is manufacturing from 48 inches all the way up to 83 inches. They have removed a polarizer layer, and replaced it with a cheaper film. On the plus side, the film lets through more light than the polarizer, so light output is increased to 1,000 nits peak. But the big downside is that ambient light reflectance goes up by several percentage points. So have a dark room. LG Display says the end result is comparable to similarly priced LCD TVs in terms of ambient light reflections, but OLED SE still has superior black levels. This does mean that the B6 series will wash out more under bright lighting than previous LG OLEDs, though.
Yeah, so, I mean, it really is like, hey, this is the dark room model, which is a little bit ironic, right? Because like, how often is the person who's going for the least expensive OLED also the one who has the completely darkened room, right? It's like, it seems a little counterintuitive to put those hand by hand. Now, like, they're basically saying, hey, you get this and it's not washing out anymore, and the black level is not rising any more than a competitively priced LCD. And then when you are watching in a dimmed environment, it's like the black is truly black, and you got that per pixel light control, so it still has the advantages. But yeah, it's like, you gain something that I would say is a marginal benefit, and then there's a fairly noticeable downside, in my opinion, with the ambient light, that the black just not staying completely inky black in the background there, and then seeing reflections a little bit more readily. So yeah, that makes it like, oh, we really are just going to be saying go get a C6 this year, aren't we? Like that's going to be the upshot of it. Yeah.
So the C6 will continue to use the 3-stack OLED EX panels, and back at CES, we also already mentioned the new C6H series, which only comes in 77 and 83-inch screen sizes. The C6H using the equivalent of last year's G5 Tandem OLED panels. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, G6 and W6 will use the newest Tandem OLED, aka 4-stack panels, and the panels themselves can hit 4,500 peak nits, although only about half of that is viewable in the finished product. It still puts them on par with the newest QD-OLED panels as far as peak light output goes, though. My tongue is tied this morning.
That's fair enough. Those are some tricky words to put all together. But yeah, so yeah, way back when the LG OLEDs first started, like really, the 4K series, I guess, is what we're talking about, really. And once they dropped 3D, it's like they had multiple series, but the panels inside were identical across all of them. And it really just was about form factor back then. And that was kind of nice, because you could be like, hey, if I want to save money, it's like, okay, maybe I don't get quite the slickest form factor, but the performance was exactly the same, regardless of what price you were paying for the LG OLEDs back in the day. They've started to stratify and separate just a little bit. And last year was maybe the most, with the G5 series having the tandem OLED panels and nothing else having that particular panel type. The 4-stack panel was exclusive to the G5 series last year. But yeah, this year it's like the most separation between the LG series. And we can expect that, of course, all of the other manufacturing brands that purchase the panels from LG Display, there could be that similar type of stratification. The least expensive are probably going to have those OLED SE panels, where the black level doesn't stay quite as inky black and you see more reflections in the panel if you've got some ambient lighting on. So just something to be aware of. And the middle ones, man, they're going to be the ones to get.
DALI is discontinuing their Oberon series, which debuted in 2018, and they are replacing it with all new DALI SONIK with a K series.
Yeah.
Driver and design tech are trickling down from the Epicon series, and the looks have been updated with 4 finish options, which is black ash, white, walnut, and oak, and magnetic grills. Mm-hmm. All of the DALI SONIK speaker models use the new 29mm or 1.14-inch soft dome tweeter, and DALI's clarity cone woofers made from a blend of paper and wood fibers. Some of the trickle-down tech comes in the form of DALI's SMC soft magnetic composite driver magnets that are claimed to lower distortion and mechanical energy losses. Whenever we say claimed, it means we don't necessarily believe that.
I have not independently verified what they say. That is.
I would like to somebody. I mean,
that's what DALI says about it.
That's what DALI says about it. Whenever you read me or hear me say, they say, or according to them, that is me saying, yeah. I mean, maybe technically.
It's a true statement. It is what they claimed.
SONIK 1 and SONIK 3 are bookshelf models reported with 5 1/4 or 7-inch woofers, respectively. Very typical specs with 86 or 87 dB sensitivity, 6 ohm nominal impedance, and 100 or 150 watt power handling. The SONIK 1 is $900 a pair. SONIK 3 is $1,200 a pair. So the Sonic 5, 7, and 9 are towers. They're $18, $28, and $4,500 a pair, respectively. The 5 is a two-way design with a single rear port and two of the 5.25-inch woofers. Spikes and outriggers are included because, of course, they are.
Yes.
Is there a link to this? I'd like to see these speakers.
Yep. There's a link at the top.
Sonic 7 and 9 change things up a bit. They're 2.5-way designs with separate chambers inside and 2 or 3 rear ports. They can get. They also get DALI's hybrid tweeter, which adds a 17 millimeter by 45 millimeter planar magnetic tweeter above the soft dome tweeter. Don't call it a super tweeter though, as the two different tweeters play together.
Yeah, it's a
That's
little bit of a
weird
strange
thing.
design choice, in my opinion.
2 7-inch woofers in the Sonic 7 and 3 7-inch woofers in the Sonic 9.
Yeah.
I don't like these numbers because they don't match up with the drivers.
Although 1, 3, 5, 7, 9.
I do like that,
That's
yeah.
reasonable. I can get behind that.
I mean, 9 isn't a prime, and the rest of them are primes. So it'd have been nice if they just stuck with the 13 or 11. 11. Yeah. So there's a Sonic on-wall model, the $1,200 a pair. Take the Sonic 1, put its drivers in a 4.8-inch deep enclosure, which is still ported, and charge the price of the larger Sonic 3. That's the Sonic on the wall. So, the Sonic Cinema is a dedicated center speaker model because we don't want you to think it's. We want you to know that it's only for use for home theater.
I mean, the logo printing is like, yep, this is a horizontal speaker. It'd be a little bit awkward to turn this one vertical, just the way that the ports are placed. Speaking of which,
so it's the only front ported model, but it's just a basic two-way design. It's an MTM design using 2 of the 5.25-inch woofers, priced at $100 each. They're released now, but some models won't reach dealers until March. Let me look at these things. Look at these things.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not exactly what I would call an exciting design. I like the choice of finish options. That's always nice. I like that they've done the magnetic grill, so you don't have any grill pin holes on the front or anything. Very clean look if you take the grills off. Yeah, I like the color options.
There's
but
a port on this on-wall speaker.
Somewhere, yeah.
Where?
I'm
On
not
the
exactly
bottom?
sure.
It doesn't look like it's on the top.
No, it's not on the top. It doesn't appear to be on the left-hand side, but yeah, it must be
doesn't.
on the bottom. One would think it's on
Scrolling
the
down
bottom.
to see if I can see any pictures of this
That's
thing.
right. But yeah, the strangest part of this is having that the Tower 7, the Sonic 7, and the Sonic 9, because those are the only ones that have that hybrid tweeter arrangement with the planar magnetic driver that is above the soft dome tweeter. I don't particularly know why it's up there, and it's a little bit strange that you don't have anything else that's matching, but I guess if you want completely matching all around you and you want a tower form factor, that's why the Sonic 5 exists. That's the one that you'd go for. So
Doesn't seem to be on the top or the right side.
it's got to be the bottom. It
gotta
can't
be
be
on
on the
the
back.
bottom.
You wouldn't think it's on the back when it's a wall mount.
But it comes with 2 front grills.
Okay.
Is it 2 of them? No. Would they come in a pair?
Yeah, they come in a pair.
Oh, so 2 front grills, rubber pads, and documentation. So the rubber pads must be for the bottom. Who
No,
would stand these things up?
The rubber
Or for
pads.
the back?
The rubber pads would go on the bottom corners, so that when you hang it on the keyhole mount, you got little rubber pads that go against the wall. It's just an on-wall speaker, Tom. There's nothing special.
Very
about
strange.
It.
It's a very the whole thing is strange.
It's not strange.
I don't know.
It's totally.
Where's the port?
It's got to be on the bottom.
I don't know.
It's the only thing
I
that makes
think it
sense.
might be on the back. Some comments from our listeners. Mark says, remember his Panasonic UB9000 Ultra HD player that was not responding to any IR remote signals, not from its original remote, and also not from any universal replacement remote. And he couldn't do a factory reset on the player because the only instructions for how to do so required using the remote. Well,
Yeah.
he did manage to get in touch with Panasonic's customer service through their online chat, and they couldn't fix it. And none of the repair shops he tried calling even bother with disc players anymore.
That is strange. I mean,
I don't understand why people want to take your money.
yeah. I mean,
Except that I do work in an industry where I tell people I'm not going to take your money.
okay.
And the reason is because I'm like, you could buy a whole new one for the amount of money it's going to cost me to fix this.
Disc players are not that old. It's not like they're truly a discontinued technology. You can go to a Walmart and buy a DVD player. I mean, it seems strange to me that an electronics repair place wouldn't service disc players. That's bizarre to me. You can find places that still serve as VCRs.
He never had a receipt for it, so he couldn't make a warranty claim. So with no other options left to him, it was finally time to say, fine, I'll do it myself. Like us, he suspected the IR sensor was no longer working, so he opened up the player and noticed that the little plug on the end of the IR sensor's connector was visibly sticking up. It required the use of the smallest flathead screwdriver bit he could find, but he managed to push on that plug, and it went down and laid flat and felt snug after that. He was worried that maybe he pushed hard enough and damaged something, but after putting the player back together, he instantly got excited when the front display read set 1 after pushing a button on the original remote.
Like it's supposed to.
He had played around with trying to set the remote to different code bases, as Rob suggested, so he used that procedure to set it back to code base 1, and it works. It was literally a loose wire inside. How could any professional repair shop or Panasonic themselves have handled that, huh? So he wanted to thank us for providing a place to discuss a crazy problem like this and to say enough out loud that it convinced him to try out this repair for himself. Yeah, so you got super lucky, and that's great.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
that's
so
what
happy
you hope
for you.
When you take off the cover of a device because something isn't functioning, you are really hoping to see something kind of obvious like, oh, that's not plugged in, or it's kind of plugged in, but it's clearly loose or not seated entirely properly. Like that is 100% what you're hoping to find, because you're like, if that's what I see inside, there's a chance that all I have to do is plug that sucker in. And happily, that is exactly what happened here. Hooray.
I don't think I told this story on the podcast, so I'll tell it now. We got an Ecobee thermostat, which I tried to install, and it did not work. And I think it requires there's a box that the Ecobee comes with that if your AC isn't set up properly or the wiring isn't set up properly inside the AC, that you can connect this box. And I think that's what has to happen, but I don't know. I know that I have plugged in Ecobees before, and they have worked because it's just like follow the. It just, something's labeled B, you put the blue wire in it. W, you put the white wire in it, blah, blah, blah. So I tried to hook it up, it didn't work, so I had to put the old remote, the old thermostat back on. So I put the old thermostat back on and went on with my life. Well, it got cold.
Sure.
And the AC, it wasn't blowing hot air. Okay. The heater wasn't blowing hot air. Now, when the Ecobee was on, it was definitely blowing hot air because that's what it was. That was one of my big problems. So I know hot air exists in this house, but for whatever reason, it wasn't blowing. And I was like, okay, maybe I broke something. Maybe something went on, blah, blah, blah. So I took the old thermostat off, and because I've done this before, I took pictures of the wiring when I took the old thermostat off. So if anything happened, I could put it back the way it was. And I had just put a wire back in the wrong location. Okay. And that fixed everything. But that is exactly what happened here. Yeah. To a certain extent. You easily identified it and was able to fix it. And I cannot tell you the amount of pride I took in fixing my own. That thing I actually broke. Like every time I get a dopamine hit every time I think about that, because I was ready to call an expert. I was like this guy. I was ready to, I was ready to pay an expert. Me and Mark were ready to pay an expert to open this thing up and press that thing down, and that was it. I'm super excited it works for you. I would definitely consider.
Best possible outcome.
Yeah, I would definitely consider getting another player, like keeping your eyes open, because why would this happen? And if why won't it happen again sort of situation. So I would definitely consider getting a backup player for the future.
Well, I mean, if all it is the little IR sensor, which is a pretty standard little part. I mean that literally could have been like a problem in the original manufacturing where something, one little connector just wasn't quite seated right. It could have been happen in shipping. So you've seen what some of our parcels go through in shipping. It's like, yep, that could have been jostled badly enough that one little connector came loose. Or who knows? I mean, I don't know the reason he didn't have an original receipt, if this was a gift or this was a used item or something like that. But I mean, who knows what happened to it previously? So I wouldn't necessarily blame certainly like the design of the player overall or something like that. This was literally a little loose connector.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still dealing with my TV, so
That's right.
Yeah. Herb from Cross Spectrum Labs. Herb is a friend of the podcast. We have often recommended that if you are buying a microphone, you should go to Herb, because for marginal premium over the cost of the microphone, he will send you a calibration file that will make sure that your microphone, that you have the proper calibration for that microphone so that it is measuring as accurately as possible.
Well, yeah, you can't call the microphone that you buy from Cross Spectrum Labs NIST certified, but it is like directly compared to a NIST certified microphone, and it is as close to that certified microphone as it can possibly be.
And the key here is that it was a marginal premium.
That's
okay,
right.
so Herb was never charging a massive amount. You know, it's not like he doubled the price of the microphone. It was like $20 or $30 on top of the price of the microphone if you get it from him with the calibration file, which was a easy recommendation for us.
Right.
And it continues to be. Well, he just wanted to chime in and confirm that right now. He's frustrated by it, and he hates disappointing customers, but obtaining stock of UMIC 1s at stable prices for Cross Spectrum Labs, which is his company, to calibrate just isn't viable right now. So if you want to buy a measurement microphone, don't wait on Cross Spectrum Labs and don't feel too bad about it. He will confirm the factory calibration files from Mini DSP is good enough that you don't really need to worry. Getting the calibration file from him meant that you didn't worry. There was no worry. You had a personalized for your microphone calibration file.
Extremely granular, multiple different angles that you could input. So whatever scenario, you had the file to correct.
But the one that he's looked at the ones from Mini DSP. They're good enough, especially if you mainly want to view comparisons. It can definitely show you the differences between two separate measurements reliably. Yeah, it's fine. Basically, is what he's saying.
Most of the time, when we're buying a measurement microphone, like to use with Room EQ Wizard, the most common application, it's like, okay, I'm measuring my system as it is now, then I make a change and I measure again, and I want to be able to see visually on a graph what difference did that change make to the response in my system. You can reliably do that with the microphone that you buy directly from Mini DSP. That is perfectly up to that task. So it's like, is it the last word in absolute accuracy across the entire frequency range? Who knows? There could be tiny little offsets that that Cross Spectrum Labs would catch and correct for you. But if you're doing a comparison of, hey, what difference did adding these acoustic panels make to the frequency response in my room or the decay times in my room? What difference did this change I made to my equalizer's target curve? Before versus after. It's like, yeah, you can reliably do that. Herb will stand behind that and is not going to blame you if you are not going to wait until they have supply chains that are reliable once again. Who knows? Herb's not in charge of that. That's for sure.
Yes. So once he gets those back in stock or has a stock for those and a price for those, we are going to continue to recommend them. Yes. It's a peace of mind thing. And like I said, he's not charging a huge premium. And for me, it's an easy recommendation because you know that your calibration file is for your microphone.
Right. And if you're in North America and Cross Spectrum Labs has stock on hand, then it's quick. You order from them and it arrives very quickly. So sometimes even that's an advantage. But not right now.
Not right now. Yeah. Questions. Let's get to them. Dazz. Dazz feels as though the movies he watches fall into three buckets. Movies, number one, movies that must be seen in a premium format cinema and then almost always purchased on physical media for the home release. 2, movies he will pay to rent as soon as they become available at home. And 3, movies he'll wait to come to a subscription service they already pays for, and he'll check it out if he has the time. The problem is that middle bucket. He finds himself lamenting the closure of all the video rental stores. No, he doesn't miss the late fees, but he does miss that you could see and hear movies at home in the highest quality that was available as a home release while paying less than a movie ticket or the cost of buying the disc to own. He finds himself hesitant to rent movies via streaming because the quality versus the disc release is not always up to snuff. Mm-hmm. And if he's going to pay to view the movie, he wants top quality. So what is a discerning enthusiast to do? Uh-huh. I understand where you're coming from here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I am also old, so thanks for pointing that out. I agree with you in that I actually miss the early heady days of Netflix where you got discs in the mail.
Yeah, discs in the mail, yeah.
The other thing I find that I don't like about streaming versus getting a disc is there's no sense of urgency about it. You know, when you rent a disc and you have a night or two you're committed to that, right? You're committed to either paying the late fee, which is ridiculous. No one wants to pay that. Or you're committed to returning it without watching it, and that's a waste of money. So you have sort of this incentive to actually, like, hey, are we going to watch a movie tonight? Yeah, let's go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or whatever the local store was. Let's go find a movie, and we'll watch it tonight. And if we don't finish it, then we'll finish it in the morning, sort of thing. Because that's the way that the movies were. You wanted to get that movie back in time. And I do miss that, because I find that there's movies and I see them on streaming. I'm like, oh, I really wanted to see this. And I absolutely never watch it.
Right.
Like the Black Phone movies. I really want to see those Black Phone movies. They seem to have got pretty
You haven't
good
watched
ratings.
the first one?
I haven't watched either one of them. I'm
Wow.
sorry. I know.
I mean,
I'm
I wasn't
a horror
super in love
movie
with the second
fan,
one, but the
too.
first one is phenomenal.
Well, there's a lot of them out there like that, and I get really mad that I love these types of movies, this movie like speaks. It has all the bells and whistles, but like I don't feel any urgency to watch it. I'm like, no, I'll just scroll on my phone instead, and I don't like that. So, how long is it going to take you to answer this question?
I mean, not necessarily super long, but
Okay,
yeah.
I'll wait because I need to get some more coffee. I've got to put some socks on my feet.
Oh, go ahead and do that. But yeah,
All right.
Okay. So what I will just say is it might be worth your while to consider Kaleidoscape. Yeah, I know if Joe were here, he'd be very happy to hear me mention that. But I mean, it is the truth. Most of the movies, certainly the new movies, anything that's being a new release that's being added to the catalog over at Kaleidoscape, there's a rental option. On top of that, if you rent the movie on Kaleidoscape and then decide, hey, I really liked that movie, now I want to own it on Kaleidoscape, they don't give you the entire rental price towards the purchase, but I believe they state they give you half of the cost of the rental, basically as a discount on the purchase price of the movie. So yeah, it's not as though it's like rent to buy, or that you can truly try before you buy, and it's you pay the rental and then get all of that back, but you get a little discount for having rented it and then deciding to purchase it later. So it's not a bad deal in that way. Now, of course, the major stumbling block there is the upfront cost of obtaining the Kaleidoscape player, but now that they have the Strato M and the Strato E, the price for that has come down, and if you're using it mainly as a rental and a little bit less so as an owning, then you really can get away with just the player, even though those players, the built-in SSD inside, can really only hold about 4K, 5 4K movies at a time. Once they're in your account, you can re-download them whenever you want. You're going to want a faster internet connection with Kaleidoscape because they are very, very large files, often larger than the Ultra HD Blu-ray in terms of just sheer file size. But yeah, that is something that you can do. And then yeah, if it's frequently rentals that you're doing from there, you're going to be getting the best quality. Sometimes the quality on Kaleidoscape is actually superior to the quality that you're getting on the physical disc. So if that's your number one priority, it's your best bet. Not always a guarantee. There are some movies in Kaleidoscape's catalog where, for whatever reason, the studios were unwilling to give Kaleidoscape the very, very best version that's available. But those are fewer and fewer every day. And by and large, you can be pretty darn confident that you're getting the absolute best version. So that all said, there do still exist, some places that do the discs by mail. So you can look into that. I don't have any such options for Ultra HD Blu-rays in Canada, and I lament that. But there are still some options that are doing it. They seems to be a little bit more regional now. It seems like most of the ones that were national across the United States, there was really no keeping that viable as an ongoing business, especially after Netflix exited the market. That hole just wasn't large enough, and most people did move over to streaming. But you could look into discs by mail. But yeah, definitely consider Kaleidoscape, as Joe Kluznik would also mention, if even the purchase price of the least expensive Kaleidoscape players is still too much for you, have a look at the used market, including Kaleidoscape's very own forum, because there are people there that are moving on and selling ones that they had before, and you can do the rentals through Kaleidoscape Store, and that could be the option for you. There you go. I vamped long enough for you to come back, Tom.
Oh, good. That took me a while to find.
Because I did have an alternative to just the link that I posted there.
Which is what, Kaleidoscape?
Yes, Kaleidoscape. Yeah, I mean, you want max quality, then and almost it's like about 2/3 of their entire catalog is available to rent, and it's mostly older movies that you won't find available to rent, because pretty much everything new is going to be there available to rent as well as buy.
Sasi went ahead and ordered some printed fabric from Spoonflower, like we suggested. He hasn't attached the fabric to his panels just yet, but just examining the fabric, the prints look pretty decent. He sort of mentioned how GIC offers dye sublimation instead of printing. The price is higher. Does the end result look that much better than that it would justify the price? What is the actual difference in the process? So the dye sublimation is it's not like a ink that's on top of the fabric, and then this is actually absorbed into the fabric itself, which my understanding is when you have a more printed panel, it can be it can clog some of the pores, if you will, and that sort of thing. So sonically,
the simplest explanation is that regular dyeing is a liquid process. The dye and the ink are in liquid form, and so you can picture you've got whatever fiber material, and you are applying a liquid to it, and some of that is going to absorb into the fibers of the material. But over time, all inks and dyes can start to fade. If you're ever washing that fabric, that is almost certainly going to fade it. Whereas dye sublimation is a gas process. The dye or the ink is turned into a gaseous state, and then it chemically, molecularly bonds with the fibers. So that means it's more resistant to any sort of fading. So that's sort of the number one thing that's always promoted. Not necessarily that the initial, fresh out of the printing process, you might be like, those look more similar than different. But with the dye sublimation, over time, the chance of that ever fading is much lower than with the liquid-based process, where eventually those dyes and inks will start fading out of the fibers. So yeah, it's liquid versus gas, and molecular bonding versus being a coating, right? With the liquid process, it's a coating on top of the fibers. With the dye sublimation, those are now molecularly joined together in a gaseous process. Yeah.
So during Infinite Gary's questions 2 weeks ago,
we didn't really say whether it's worth it. That's tough. That's really tough, because the regular printing looks pretty darn good. I got GIC's printed panels and had them make them for me, and I did a article on that AV Gadgets. I can link up. The problem was I didn't have the originals to compare them to. Right.
So how close does it look? Well, I basically sent them a photo of the original.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So how good was the photo? I don't know how good was the photo. How close to the photo was the print? I don't know.
There are layers of translation in between here. It's been translated from device to device before GIC even had a chance to use their process.
And in the home theater, you're never going to wash them. Let's start with that.
Right.
They shouldn't have a whole lot of light hitting them, so fading seems less of an issue from UV radiation or whatever. Is it worth it? I mean, to me, it kind of depends on what you're getting. If you're getting a fully realized panel that's created by GIC or whatever, well, then it makes sense to me to, if you don't want to do it yourself and you want it to look really good, like I said at the beginning of this thing when we were talking about rugs, sometimes when you pay extra, you're getting something for it. And in this case, you're going to get a panel that's perfectly aligned exactly the way you told them that you want it to be done and stretched properly and everything else. And if you do it yourself, you're risking all the things that can happen when you do it yourself. So,
I mean, this is one to me where I'm like, okay, let's say I'm putting up some panels behind my couch in my main living room. Guests are going to be over. I am going to be having sunlight coming in here. This is kind of a showcase art piece that I am using the opportunity to have that double as an acoustic panel. And this is going to be a higher traffic area, well lit. People are going to see it. I'm like, you know what? Worth paying the extra money to GIC to me, because it's gonna last that much longer if I do ever need to clean it, because this is a higher traffic area. It's going to be withstand understand that process better, I'm like, okay, I think it's worth the money there. Whereas, yeah, if this is in a sunlight never enters this room, there is no chance I'm ever going to wash this panel. This room is almost always dim, if not downright dark. I'm like, probably not really. And I want more panels, just the sheer number. I want more of them. Like, I'd probably save the money and go with regular dyeing because I think that's going to make sense. So, yeah, I think there's applications for both, just in my opinion. And then, yeah, I think that's the way I would justify it to most other people.
During Infinite Gary's questions 2 weeks ago, we detailed the new Marantz AV30 Pre-Pro and AMP 30 6-channel Class D amp. Gary sort of questioned the AMP 30's value proposition as its 6-channel count seemed a little bit strange to him. I must not have been on this podcast.
You were not. That was either Joe or Lee. Yeah, that's one of the two.
It must have been Joe. But strange to him when the AV30 is 11 speaker channel, whatever. Pre-Pro, and buying 2 of the AMP 30s would cost $8,000, which is the same price as the 16-channel AMP 10, or $2,000 more than the 12-channel AMP 20. Yeah. Sasi just wanted to add on to that by pointing out that the Buckeye Hypex NC502 6-channel amp is priced at less than half of the Marantz's AMP 30's $4,000 price tag. Mm-hmm. And we know those Hypex Class D modules and Buckeye's choice of power supply for them have been measured and confirmed to deliver a rule or flat response regardless of different impedances at different frequencies. So he finds himself questioning the value proposition of the Marantz AMP 30 as well. Is it maybe a misstep by Marantz? Could all of this second guessing have been avoided just by making an 8-channel amp instead? You are not the customer. Let's just start right with that. You're not the customer for this. Somebody, there is something to be said for things looking the same, number one. And number two,
a lot of it is cosmetic.
Number two, there are people out there who will never believe in their heart of hearts, even if they know it logically, objectively, if they know that there is some part of them that will always believe that the Marantz version will somehow be better because it's paired with another Marantz,
sure,
versus something else.
Yeah,
and I don't begrudge Marantz for whatever they're doing to it to make it be that much higher. And maybe they're doing nothing other than putting it in a fancy cabinet. I mean, we have seen fancy cabinets or fancy boxes around Oppo players and charging a huge premium for them.
The Panasonic one was hilarious, where the entire Panasonic player chassis and all was inside someone else's chassis.
So, there's a give the customer what they want sort of situation, and there's also it's okay if you've got the money. You're like, I just want them all to look the same.
Sure.
Because the performance is going to be there. The performance is going to be fine. You can make the argument. You can always make the argument that the performance of something else is better or the same as the performance of a more expensive thing. It's almost impossible not to have somebody say that to you, no matter what you've bought.
Yeah.
You bought like some inexpensive used tricked out car. Somebody else is going to be able to tell you, well, I found a car that was just as tricked out and just as fast and made it all the same whatever, and it's half the price. Like, okay,
well, I mean, it's particularly funny in Sasi's case just because, I mean, he knows this well, and he knows where I'm coming from when I say this, but it's like, when he was looking for a 2-channel Class D amplifier, he's like, I could get the Buckeye, and I know, like, I've seen all the objective measurements, and I know it's exactly what I'm going after performance-wise. But I'm going to pay a little bit extra and order the one from Apollon because I just like the chassis they put on it a little nicer. And I like that Apollon included RCA inputs instead of me having to use an RCA to XLR adapter. And he's like, yep, I'll pay some extra to get those little niceties. So, it's not as though he's against that. My personal take on the Marantz AMP 30 specifically, I don't think the amplifier itself is a misstep whatsoever. And I actually kind of dig the way I don't know, that's maybe not the right word, but like, somewhat appreciate the way Marantz is marketing it because they're like, the AMP 30, it's got 6 channels, but they're like, we kind of intend for you to use this as a 3-channel amplifier, like either bridging those to give you more wattage per channel, because it's still stable into 4 ohms even when bridged, which is a little bit unusual, actually. But they make a point of that. Or, they know that lots of people have front speakers that are bi-ampable. So they're like, yeah, bi-amp your front 3 speakers or bridge for your front 3. Then combine the amp 30 with an amp 20, and that's how you get your 15 channels, right? So it's like you'd have an AV10 and then an amp 20 and an amp 30, and your front 3 speakers would either have the bridged power or the bi-amped power from the amp 30 driving those front 3, and then the other 12 speakers are powered by the amp 20. It's like that's kind of the stack. You got one, you got a 10, you got a 20, and you got a 30, and there's your complete system. It's like, okay, I kind of see where that's coming from. If there's any misstep to me, it's that they released the AV10 and the amp 10 together, and you're like, okay, those things have the same number at the end of them, and one of them is a 15-channel pre-pro, and then the other one is a 16-channel amplifier, but it's because they're using these Class D modules that only come as stereo modules. So it's like, well, you could artificially turn one of them off and make it a 15, but they're like, whatever, we're buying these stereo modules, we're just going to give you the 16 channels. And everyone was like, okay, great, I'm happy with that. Maybe I bi-amplify or I bridge my center alone. And it's like, there you go, I made use of all of them, hooray. But then they released the AV20 and the AMP20, and now you have a 13-channel pre-pro with a 12-channel amplifier that were released at the same time for the same price with a 20 at the end of both of them. And you're like, but wait, I'm missing a channel. And now comes the AV30 and the AMP30 at the same price at the same time, but one is an 11-channel pre-pro and the other is a 6-channel amplifier. I'm like, the only misstep to me was like using the same numbers at the end, because people are like, well, aren't they supposed to match? Like, isn't this supposed to be a 1-for-1? Like, I get an AV10 and an amp 10, or I get an AV20 and an amp 20, or I get an AV30 and an amp 30. It's like, well, no, not quite. They actually have slightly different applications, but like, I see how people like, they came out at the same time, they're priced the same, they look the same, the numbers are the same, and yet they don't perfectly match one another. That's the only misstep that Marantz made. If they slightly change the model naming scheme, then it would make perfect sense, because their marketing actually makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah. You got to make the number. If you're going to have the numbers match,
That's right.
Units should go together.
That's right.
Or just have the number be the number of channels.
Well, that's it. If it was an amp 16 and an amp 12 and an amp 6, I don't think anybody has this problem. They're like, no. Oh, the number is the number of channels, and I get whatever mix and match I need to make this work. Okay. I literally think it's because they made it the 10, the 20, and the 30, and so were the pre-pros. That's their misstep.
During Alongo's questions a couple of weeks ago, Rob and Joe agreed that getting this SVS SoundPath isolation feet would be worth it for Alongo's new HSU TN1 subs. But what if Alongo doesn't want to spend that much? He'd be getting 4 sets of them after all. What about just using sorbothane pads?
Sorbothane, yeah.
Underneath the existing feet of the TN1 subs. As long as each sorbothane pad is rated to hold right around 25 pounds, it's important not to underspec or overspec sorbothane pads. They need to be just the right amount of squishy for the weight they're supporting. 4 of them will hold and damp each TN1 subwoofer nicely. He found appropriate sorbothane pads being sold in Amazon Canada. A pack of 8 just cost $30. Alongo would probably want some felt pads to go directly underneath the sorbothane pads too, since sorbothane can be quite sticky. So sliding the subs into position would be very challenging, but small felt pads are super cheap. So what do we think of this as a less expensive alternative to the SoundPath isolation feet? Let me look at these things. What are these things?
They're just that discs? Slightly tacky rubber. That's what they are. It's a poly whatever, some type of plastically rubber thing. That's what sorbothane is.
Didn't I write an article about options for this, and one of them was like the like a washer dryer rubber feet thing that costs almost
exactly
nothing.
What these are. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I have no problems with this.
Yeah, no, the only thing I would say to this is that if, like, so this isn't the case with the TN1 because the TN1 doesn't come with spike feet. But if your subwoofer came with spike or conical feet, especially if it's a down-firing design, it's like, I don't know if I want to put that right onto a sorbethane pad. You can actually, like, cut a sorbethane pad if you have, a spike that's pointy enough. So in that case, I'd be like, you know what? You completely replace it with the sound path isolation feet, and maybe it's just worth the price. It's a buy once, cry once, and the price isn't even that high. But yeah, no, I mean, under the already existing hard rubber feet of the TN1, we all know this is going to work just fine as long as you get the right rating so that it's the right amount of squishy so that it does compress and absorbs the physical vibrations, but doesn't compress so much that it, actually compresses right down and makes solid contact with the ground again, like the little foam pads that Ilongo first put under there. And he sent us a photo that Joe and I both looked at and we're like, well, that's completely crushed. So it's like, that's really not providing any damping anymore with the foam pad completely crushed down by the weight of the TN1. But yeah, you get the right rating and it's going to work just fine.
Yeah, those Wagner whatever feet I found are like $21 for 4 of them.
There you go.
And those are just foam. I mean, I understand not having it be too compressed. I am a little like, does it really matter that it's not compressed enough? I mean,
well, because then it's like having the hard rubber feet. Hard rubber feet are still better than spikes or cones, but you're not getting a full damping when it's, a very stiff rubber.
So Sasi had to mildly disagree with Rob and Joe's assertion that another pair of Arendelle 1723 speakers will match perfectly well as new front wides to Rob X's Arendelle 1528 front speakers. I'm glad you guys are fighting amongst yourselves because
I don't know if Tom could possibly care less about the matching of front wide speakers.
Could not. Please discuss among yourselves the front wide.
I mean, I
timbre
guess there's
matching.
some level because Tom is someone who understands what front wide speakers are, which is a step beyond the majority of the public out there. Majority of the public has no idea what front wide speakers are, and Tom actually knows what they are. So I guess you could care slightly less than you do.
I guess I could be completely ignorant of
That's
it
right.
and be happier for it, be honestly. Sasi had the chance to compare the 1723 series and 1528 series head to head, and he thinks they sound different from one another to a greater degree than he had anticipated. Sasi wanted to take a moment to mention that the unfortunate passing of speaker designer Dan Romer. He died recently after battling cancer, and he was only 55. Ugh. He was the lead designer for Arendelle on the Arendelle 1723 and 1961 series. He was also co-owner of Perlisten, and prior to those, he led the design for the monoprice monolith THX speakers and their much less expensive Encore series. Sasi laments that Dan didn't have the chance to continue on with all those speaker brands, and he isn't sure he's the biggest fan of some of the changes that have happened since Dan's absence. For example, the monoprice monolith audition series seems like a very noticeable compromise in order to bring the price point of that series even lower, and now it seems to have been entirely replaced by the Encore series, which Sasi thought sounded much, much better.
Yeah, the Audition has replaced the Encore, more or less, in Monolith's lineup. That wasn't always the case. They were sold side by side for a while, but it's pretty hard to find the Encore series listed there anymore.
So while the Arendelle 1723 and the 1728 series is nothing like that, 1528, sorry, is nothing like that, Sasi noted the distinct difference in the dispersion pattern. Both series measure quite neutral on axis, so they shouldn't sound like a horrible mismatch or anything. But the 1528 have more of a shaped off-axis response versus the wider and more even off-axis response of the 1723 series. So if we're going by measurements, Sasi thinks the less expensive alternative to the 1528 series to use as front wides would be something with a waveguide that more closely matches the limited vertical dispersion and wider horizontal dispersion. Perhaps the Revel Concerta 2 series, he thinks. Do we agree? I mean, I'm so sorry that I can't care about this.
Completely honestly, I still don't.
I mean, isn't the whole point of front wides is the on-axis response?
Yeah, that's just it.
You're supposed to have them pointed very directionally, unlike everything else that we do around here. They're supposed to be pointed right at you to provide that on-axis response. I don't feel like it makes like the off-axis response is that important.
Well, and also the real key difference is the vertical off-axis response. That's what is distinctly and very measurably different between the 1723 and the 1528 series from Arundel. The vertical response is certainly different, and it's like, yeah, that can make an audible difference. We talked to somebody not that long ago where a floor bounce was responsible for the cancellation that he was getting, and that would be limited in the case of the 1528, whereas might happen readily in the case of the 1723. But yeah, other than floor bounce or ceiling bounce, which can be adjusted by adjusting the height of your speaker, and front wide speakers aren't that difficult to adjust their height if they're stand mounted. So yeah, I mean, the front wide speakers, they really are like, those are the ones you aim bang on axis at you. And believe me, there is nobody else in your listening room who cares as much as you in your primary seat about the front wide speaker response, and you're going to be getting bang on axis, and that bang on axis from the 1723 is about just as flat as the 1528 on axis response. So honestly, Sasi, like, I'm not even saying this to be glib or tongue in cheek or anything. Like, I'm still sticking with my original answer. The aesthetics match, the ordering process is easier, and I think the response, the actual in life listening response is going to be very, very pleasing with some 1723 wides matching with some 1528 fronts.
He's still going on, is he? Okay, so still with Sasi. A comment after hearing Alan asking for closed-back headphones and USB headphone amplifier recommendations last week. Sasi has no beef with the Sennheiser HD620S and the JDS Lab Atom Plus recommendations, but as we mentioned ourselves, the JDS Lab bundle might be a bit spendy, and Sasi was also thinking that Alan might not want to leave equipment of that kind in as a cubicle. Mm-hmm. So, on the USB headphone amp side of things, he's going to buy independent measurements and suggesting the FIO K11.
KA, yes.
Ka. And the Jacali Jum 20. You're going to have to follow the links to figure out what the heck I'm talking about.
That's right.
Anyways, yeah. They measure ruler flat, and while they can't supply as much power as the JDS Labs bundle, they could drive those Sennheiser 620S headphones over 115 dB, and they cost under $35. And since Alan mentioned a $500 maximum price point, Sasi wanted to mention the closed-back headphones that are the best that he has ever heard himself. They also come recommended by Sean Olive and objectively measure close to the Harman headphone target curve, and those are the Aeon RTs, priced right at $500. They're planar magnetic, and while they're bigger and heavier than the Sennheiser, Sasi personally thought they were very comfortable. So just some alternatives to consider. So
yeah. So my experience, I've tried about 5 different FIO products at this point. And I hadn't been like over the moon about any of them. Some of them were fine, but I hadn't been over the moon about any. I didn't really think they lived up to the online hype. That said, they're not one of the brands. They're a little bit like Fluence in my mind, where it's like, yep, individual product to individual product. Yeah. They aren't one where I'm like, oh, that brand is consistently this way or that way. It's like, so we have the objective measurements. The KA11 seems like a very reasonable, inexpensive. It's pretty much exactly the same as like the Apple USB-C to headphone jack dongle. They're that type of device, but at a little bit lower price point. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Apple dongle and the FIO dongle and the J-Cali dongle are like the same on the inside, because that's the type of product that we're dealing with here. But yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable suggestion there. As for the Aeon RT, I have no familiarity with them. I am a fan of planar headphones for sure. But yeah, most of the ones I've seen have always been open back. The Aeon RT are available in both open back and closed back. So I just want to be real careful that when Sean Olive is recommending them, that it's specifically the closed back version of them, because that can make a big old difference to the frequency response that happens. And sometimes, like, you can say the headphones have been tuned for his target curve, but like there are literal mechanical limitations when you close the back of a headphone that just might not be able to be overcome by no matter how much tuning and EQing you do to them. So I'd want to be a little bit careful on that. But yeah, anyway, those are alternatives. And yeah, I'm pretty okay with checking out those little USB-C dongles, because that might be a lot nicer to leave in a cubicle than, nearly $300 worth of JDS Labs equipment.
Right. Dan, First up, Dan tried out our suggestion to plug a Sonos port into a Sonos amp to figure out if it was the Sonos port that was making the audible difference. As a reminder, he found that when he used a Sonos port plugged into his Niles amplifier, he noticed a clear and repeatable difference in sound versus just using a Sonos amp. And he is not one to believe in claims about amplifiers sounding different from one another, so we were simply trying to figure out what happened. With the Sonos port plugged into a Sonos amp, it sounded exactly the same as just using the Sonos amp on its own. So our hypothesis that it was the filtered output of the Sonos port seems to have been rejected. It remains a mystery. This must have been without me too, because I have no idea.
Yeah, that was Lee.
We're talking about. It remains a mystery why the Niles amp sound different. But the problem is that he prefers the sound when he is using the Niles. So he'll have to figure out if he wants to deal with the increased complexity of replacing his Sonos amp in the other rooms. But at least one of the variables has been eliminated. So he's still glad he tried our suggestion.
Okay, I have one more suggestion to make, since he's obviously willing to do an experiment like this. Take the Sonos port and plug it into one of your AV receivers, because he says he got AV receivers, and so that's yet another different amplifier, right? Whatever AV receiver you have in some room, plug the port into that, because so far, you're like, okay, the port plugged into the Niles sounds one way. The very same Sonos port plugged into the input of a Sonos amp sounds exactly the same as when the Sonos amp just plays the streaming music directly. So the Sonos port is not making some kind of inherent change to the sound. So go ahead and take that same Sonos port, plug it into an AV receiver, and see how it sounds there. Because if it basically sounds the same as your Sonos amp, then it's one of the cases where it's like, okay, the AV receiver and the Sonos amp, they're both telling it like it is. The Niles amplifier is basically applying some kind of equalization, whether intentional or not, to the signal. Now, it happens to be a change to the signal that you prefer, but we know that, like, if you got a Denon or a Marantz AV receiver, an Onkyo AV receiver, or a Pioneer AV receiver, like Yamaha AV receiver, it's like, those are essentially ruler flat response unless you're getting to the very, maximum edges of what that amplifier can possibly do. And that's not the, he's like 86 dB is what I'm trying to do from 7 feet away. So you're not pushing these amps to their limits in any way. So I would have that listen, because it's like, okay, if the AV receiver and the Niles sound exactly the same, well, now it's the Sonos amp that sounds different from those two.
I would already assume that the Niles is doing something at this point. I mean,
since the Sonos amp is a little bit of an unusual design, it's not out of the question. But we've got some measurements that show unless you have an unusual impedance in the tweeter of your speaker, the Sonos amp is pretty darn ruler flat, according to the measurements. So my guess is that, I agree with Tom. I'm thinking the Niles is doing something. It happens to be something you like, but that also means you can just equalize your source through the ruler flat accurate amplifiers to mimic whatever it is that the Niles is doing. Because if you have a ruler flat amplifier, you can EQ that thing and make it sound like whatever you want. But anyway,
you can figure out what it's doing too.
Yeah.
Based on, if you use Room EQ Wizard or whatever, you can figure out what that amp is doing.
But that's the experiment I would run, because I'd want to see, okay, if two of these things are the same, then which is the one that's different? Yeah.
So on a different topic, he's got an Integra DRX 8.4 receiver. He runs a 5.2.4 speaker configuration. So at present, he has 2 amplifier channels left over, quote unquote. He has already tried using external amplification versus the receiver's built-in amps in his past. He heard no audible difference. And his setup is small enough that the Integra has no problem at all playing a system as loud as you could ever want it, and with headroom to spare.
Yes, going back to what I just said, he's got an Integra receiver, so there you go. We absolutely know he's got that on hand, so plug the Sonos port into that.
But it's snowing and frozen over outside, and he's sick of shoveling snow. So can he justify saying it's somehow worth it to play around with bi-amping his front speakers using those 2 extra channels on his receiver? He's never tried this feature before. He's just curious what the results might be. But if it's truly just a waste of time and energy, he could put his focus towards other more productive things. Snow related, probably, he supposes. His speakers are whatever, doesn't matter. It is a monumental waste of time that I think you should do. Because why not at this point?
I'll tell you why not. There is a reason to not do it. And it has nothing to do with your time could be better spent elsewhere. The reason I wouldn't do this is because, oh God help us if you do think you hear a difference.
Yeah, because then you'll have to go down a rabbit hole of figuring out why.
That's right. Because I promise you this, if you do think you hear a difference, even if you do really hear it, like there really is a difference, it's going to be misattribution that causes you to think it was, well, biamping is the reason I heard a difference. No, it isn't. Something else, something changed if you hear a difference. Now, you shouldn't. You absolutely should not hear any difference in this scenario. There is no chance in the setup that you described that you should hear a difference. But that doesn't mean you won't. There is a possibility you do, and then, oh my goodness, have we just opened a can of worms of figuring out why your human brain is going to be like, well, what did I change? I changed from single amping to biamping. Therefore, that must be the reason there would have a difference. But that is faulty logic, misattribution if that's what happens.
So let's say that you do hear a difference.
Sure.
This is what you'll end up having to do. Is you'll end up having to figure out what it was about the biamping process that made the settings on your AV receiver change in some way. And then you'll have to, then once you figure that out, it's kind of like when when somebody says, well, I like my receiver sounds different when I'm in 2-channel versus multi-channel mode. And then it turns out that the Den has like a 2-channel setting that reverts everything back to full range and, front speakers plus mains or whatever, main plus subwoofer or whatever it is. And then you have to change it back, and then you have to start A-Bing back and forth, and then you're like, okay, yes, it didn't make a difference. I'm glad I know that now. It's a waste of time. It's a huge waste of time. In your setup, in particular, there's no reason to do it. I don't think there's a reason to do it in most setups. In fact, any setup. But you could. It's better than shoveling snow. So
there's that.
But it might make you crazy.
That's the legitimate worry.
Yeah, that's the risk you take.
That's right.
I assure you it won't make an audible difference.
Yeah.
There is no world where there's a objective difference. Subjectively, who knows what your brain might trick you into hearing. But objectively, there will not be an audible difference between these two things.
Yep. Sorry to say.
I'm going to have to go pull those in a second here. I'll see if I can make it through this question. I just found some Kleenex and the box is empty. Sam has an enclosed rectangular room that is dedicated to being his home theater. It's just shy of 14 feet long and 11.5 feet wide. There are a pair of windows on the right side wall and a door into the room on the back wall in the rear left corner, which is kind of similar to what I have.
Okay.
It has a bifold closet door in the rear right corner. He took his time and pieced together his home theater system over several years whenever he found items that he wanted at good sale prices. So he's got an 85-inch LCD TV, a Genon X3800H receiver, ELAC Unified 2.0 UB52 bookshelf front and UC52 center, plus the ELAC Debut 2.0 OW 5.2 on-wall surrounds. He also has 4 Sonos Mag 6 in-ceiling speakers overhead, so he's running a 9-speaker setup. The obvious weak point is the current subwoofer, which is just an energy sub from the Take 5 speaker package. He saved his pennies, and it's finally time to upgrade to a pair of 20 hertz capable subs. He should note he does not have any acoustic treatments yet, but he does intend to get some in the future. That's a lie.
I don't actually think it is in his case. And you know what? I don't mind doing the subwoofer upgrade before the acoustic panel upgrade in this case. If we're talking about what is really going to make the biggest possible difference you can make right now, yep, the dual subs makes the biggest possible difference. The dual subs
will make the difference. Yes, I agree with that. But a lot of times people say, I'm definitely going to do that. And then they never do. I
kind of believe
it's fine. I hope you do. Given the rather small dimensions of his room, plus the fact that he likes his current sofa and precisely where it is located, it is currently placed, ideal for where he installed his in-ceiling overhead speakers. He liked the pair of subwoofers to be physically compact. He's also looking to remain within the budget. So right now his top contenders are the SVS SB1000 Pro, the RSL Speedwoofer 10S Mark II. Which way do we think we should go? The RSL.
Yep. RSL Speedwoofer 10S Mark II. They are actually a little bit less expensive, and they can play deeper and louder. So to me, that's an easy one. That's the one.
That's done. Yay. Yeah. The exact middle of the left wall and right wall isn't really an option because putting the 2 subs there would leave him extremely narrow walkways on either side of the couch. And as mentioned, he has no desire to move the couch's position in the room. He also wouldn't be comfortable with having to step over a sub in order to get to the couch, which I think is a reasonable thing not to want to do. Even though either of the subwoofer choices are compact. Who cares? You still don't want to walk over the top of the dang thing. And the exact middle of the front wall and back wall won't work either because he uses a TV stand that occupies the middle of the front wall, and the bifold doors of the closet on the back wall extend beyond. If you look at the picture,
he's got a diagram.
This is fine. Okay, let's just say that. So he's thinking to go for offset placement, either sidewalls with one sub pushed forward on one side while the second sub is pushed backward on the other side, or front and back walls, but the sub would be pushed over to the right a little bit and the back sub would be pushed over to the left a little bit. So whether we think it would look best, or do we have a completely different suggestion that you think would be optimal? Yeah. Either is fine.
Yeah, it really is.
If it's me, I'm going front and back, and it's because, and it's only because I don't like having the subwoofer on that wall right there, right next to the couch, where that somebody's going to have to step kind of around it. I think it just is overall better that way. But sonically, I think it'll make zero difference. These are both fine options.
Yeah, the only some tiny little fly I'll throw into that ointment is to say that, like, in my experience, the only time I've ever been like, you know what, I'm gonna fiddle a little bit with the relative volume between sub 1 and sub 2, just so that I don't get any sense of, like, I kind of feel like I'm hearing one sub a little bit more than the other. I've only really experienced that in the front back, where my seat is obviously closer to the sub at the back of the room, whereas the side to side, I'm like, I can sit anywhere on this couch and I can't even tell where the subs are once both of them are playing. But realistically, we got to be like, what truly makes the most sense in this room? And I think it is the front and back in this particular case. But yeah, either of these is totally fine. Totally fine.
If you were to pay for DRAC on his Denon X3800H in the future, would it be beneficial to plug each subwoofer into its own sub out on the back of the Denon, or should he always just use a single subwoofer output with a Y splitter no matter what?
So it depends on the level of DRAC you end up paying for, because there are 3 levels of DRAC that you have the option to upgrade to on the Denon. So if all you did was DRAC Live room correction, then I would say no, continue using the Y splitter with the mono sub output. But if you go to either bass control or art, then I would be like, yeah, okay, it finally makes sense to use the independent subwoofer outputs when that's what you're doing, because they can truly adjust the subwoofers individually, and they do so as a cohesive system. It's very much like the multi-sub optimizer in the case of bass control, and it does actually make sense in that scenario to use 2 separate subwoofer outputs on the back of your Denon. So there we go. We found the scenario.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do we think about maybe using a wireless connections to the subs? It would be particularly useful if he ends up going with a rear wall placement for one of the subs, but is the added latency a problem? Would OLED correct for that latency automatically? What if one of the subs is wireless but the other is wired? So if the one's wireless and the other one's wired, you do run into a mismatch in the latency, which is problematic. So you basically want to be either straight wired or straight wireless for both of them.
Although you can still use the fully variable phase on the back of one of the subs to compensate for that. And then, of course, there's also the scenario of, okay, right now I'm using Odyssey that came with the X3800H. We want to use the Y-splitter method, single subwoofer out. That's feeding the same signal to both subs. But if you do upgrade to DRAC Live bass control or go all the way up to ART, which, they stack on top of each other. So bass control uses room correction, and then ART uses both room correction and bass control. But yeah, you go up to those 2 top levels in DRAC, then you're switching over the 2. So since we already said pretty clearly we think you should get the RSL, this is actually quite easy because they sell separately. If you get the Subwoofer 10S Mark II, it already has a wireless receiver built into it. It just comes with it. And so all you need to purchase is the RSL wireless transmitter, which is $50. That's not a crazy add-on. And that wireless transmitter can actually feed up to 4 Subwoofer 10S Mark II units. So right now it's super easy. You buy one of them for $50. You plug a single subwoofer output into it. You tell your Denon that you have only one subwoofer, and it sends the exact same wireless signal to both RSL Subwoofer 10S Mark IIs. So, like, why even bother with a wire? It's solved for you. You didn't have to pay any extra other than buying the transmitter, which you obviously needed in order to make it wireless anyway. If and when you upgrade to DRAC Live bass control or ART, well, you can buy a second one so that you can have dual independent subwoofer outputs. But you know what? It's $100 total and separated in time. I think that's a pretty easy solution.
So if he goes with the RSL Subwoofer subs, those are rear vented with their slot port on the back of the cabinet. So if you prefer to have their back panels against the walls, how close can they be? Do they need a certain amount of room to breathe? Most subs are designed, especially if they're rear ported, they just assume you're going to slam them against a wall. So I would think that they need exactly as much room to breathe as a cable The RCA cable needs to be plugged in
Or
before it touches
cable.
the wall.
The power cable on the back is
the power cable.
It's
as well.
sticking
Yeah,
on the back and it's going to bend around a little bit, and it's a fairly nice, thick, beefy power cord that comes with it. Yeah. So RSL says themselves they recommend 4 inches as the minimum, and I'm like, you know what? You don't even have to worry about it. It's like, yeah, you got the power cord. However much the power cord sticks out and the RCA plug sticks out, that's how much space you need. It's going to be totally fine.
Yeah, I completely.
Yeah.
There's no world in which I worry about how close I can put my subwoofer to the wall.
I mean, it's a very wide, flared slot port, and you're in a small enough room that you are not reaching the maximum output capabilities of that port. It's not going to be an issue.
Right. Let's see here. Nathan, have we heard Ascend Acoustics ELX series speakers in person? Any opinions on them? Any idea why they are not available?
That's the wrong there. How did I do that?
Right word there. They are not available in the satin black bamboo finish. I mean, probably because it's not a popular enough finish for them to decide to continue to do it, because that's usually why things like that don't happen.
Well, yeah, actually, looking across their series, I don't see the satin black bamboo being offered on any of their speakers anymore. So, which is a shame, because that was my personal favorite finish, and maybe that's exactly why Nathan was thinking of it, because I've mentioned the satin black bamboo in the past and said that's the one I think you should get. But unfortunately, they're not offering it. It's gloss black, or it's like satin, deep. What do they call it? Whatever it is. They got a darker color, they got a lighter color, they got the natural, they got white gloss, which costs extra. The white gloss adds $100 to the price of any individual speaker. But anyway, I haven't actually heard the ELX series speakers in person. This is a case of Dave knew 100%, and I mean, this is on their own Ascend forums, where people are like, why don't you take the very best drivers that you have from all of your speaker series and put them all together into a single speaker? That's what the ELX really is.
Strange looking speaker this Horizon one is.
I guess so.
Double slot ports in the front.
Ports on the front. It's
that is a speaker made for people who care about how it sounds more than how it looks, I guess.
Oh yes, that is the case. Yeah, it's meant to be a center channel and nothing but. But yeah, so they took the EX driver from the Sierra 2 EX and used that as a dedicated mid-range, and they took the LX woofers from the Sierra LX and used a pair of those as dedicated bass drivers. And of course, you got the Rowell Ribbon tweeters, as well as the Titan Dome tweeter is an option. So yeah, if we're looking at prices there, the ELX tower with the Titan Dome tweeters, a pair of those is $4,400. With a pair of Rowell Ribbon tweeters, you're up to $5,700 a pair. And then if we're going with the ELX Horizon Center, $2,500 if you get the Titan Dome tweeter. If you go up to the Rowell Ribbon tweeter, then you're at $3,100. And you got to compare that to the Sierra Tower version 2, where that's $3,000 a pair or $4,300 a pair with the Rowell Ribbon tweeters. And the Sierra Horizon version 2 center is $1,350 with the Titan Dome and $2,000 with the Rowell. So, there's a $1,000 plus premium on these speakers to go up to those drivers. And legitimately, I mean, all of the Klippel measurements are there. You can see that, yep, the ELX speakers are capable of playing louder and lower, which is exactly what we would expect from upgrading the drivers like that. I'm still of the opinion, like, you look at the frequency response, you look at the polar response, and it's like, well, those speakers sound exactly the same, other than one of them can play a little louder and a little lower. And it's like, that's the difference. I mean, the objective measurements show it, and the Klippel doesn't lie. So there's going to be scenarios where, like, you know what? I need 2 dB more output. I just need that. I'm never going to worry about the deeper bass extension, because I'm always going to cross over my speakers. So there you go. That's my thoughts on them.
Okay. That is a strange center channel. I don't even know where that fits. I'll be honest with you.
It's big. It's a big boy.
Yeah. Paul has a wide open living room. It's completely open to the kitchen and a large hallway to the rest of the house, and the ceilings are tall too. He understands that fully pressurizing an area like that is not the goal, but there are a couple of large couches, and when the whole family gets together to watch a movie, the living room is typically where they end up doing so. So we like to have good bass, good uniformity if at all possible. At the moment, he uses a pair of Revel Towers as his front, left, and right speakers, and he has a pair of SB16 Ultra sealed subs, which are both at the front of the room as well. The subs are right next to each tower speaker up front in a very 1990s setup. He knows it's not ideal dual subwoofer placement, but looks are also a priority, and he's happy to say that Dirac Art has made a very noticeable difference and improvement, so he's really enjoying that. That said, He thinks there's still room for more improvement.
Mm-hmm.
He's found a pair of slightly smaller SVS SB13 Ultra subs for sale. He could potentially put one of those in the rear corner of the room and another one in the middle of the back wall. The middle of the back wall in the theater space, I imagine what he's talking about, not like in the middle of the entire open area.
I don't know what the
back
floor
wall.
plan is.
I mean, who knows what he's talking about at this point? He knows what he's talking about. We don't.
One is a corner, one is not. We can gather.
One is not. That's what we know, and that corner could be 20,000 feet away for all we know. But you can also buy one more SB16 Ultra, and that could go in the rear corner again. Who knows how far away. So what's going to be the better option for him, keeping in mind that he has DRAC Live base management and art to help him optimize his setup? Is it better to have 3 identical subs, or would having 4 subs, but they are not ideally positioned, and 2 of them slightly smaller than the other 2? I mean, none of these subs are the right shape and size for this room. Let's just start there.
But it's also just unreasonable to be like, we're going to pressurize 20 hertz in a wide open great room of a house.
So as far as art, I mean, we have not experimented with art yet.
On a personal level.
And in my room and in Rob's room.
Yeah. I mean, I can pressurize my whole place that I own. That's really not a problem.
He just opens a door and it's fine. Well, that would not work in my space. I mean, I could theoretically set stuff up in my living room area, which is massive, and open to the kitchen and everything else. But it's just a big rectangle with one small little hallway that goes to the front door. I could theoretically set something up in there and test out DRAC art if I ever got to that point. But it's not going to happen, so it's not going to be an issue. If it were me, I would get the identical sub.
I lean that way in this scenario too.
I don't know. So the risk that you run in my mind here is that the 2 smaller subs you are risking adding noise to your space that is just noise from the subs themselves. Now, maybe
that's pretty minimal on a SVS sub because they're very well controlled, but yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it can't happen.
But DRAC does measure every single sound producing thing individually. So it's not as though it's not smart enough to be like, okay, I know that these 2 subs are like I'm not gonna attempt to make them hit the target curve that I've calculated. It's like it's going to attempt to make them hit the target curve that I calculated. It's not so intelligent that it's just like, okay, I'm somehow magically aware, because it's not like the test tones that it plays for the measurement are figuring out the maximum output of that device. Right? It's still playing like a 75 hertz test tone or a 75 decibel test tone. So it doesn't know the headroom capabilities. So it's still going to just attempt to equalize the system as a whole to hit a target curve. And you're going to be hitting the limits of one of these things before the others. That's the concern.
Yeah. That's my recommendation. I think that you're best off just getting matching subs because they will at least all.
And it can do a real, base control can do a real darn good job with 3 subs. Multi-sub optimizer can do a real darn good job with 3 subs. And then art on top of that is not just using the 3 subs, it's also using your tower speakers as well. Yeah. So, I agree.
Brandon has an LG
we missed the second part. B.
Oh, there's the second part. It's so small, I didn't even see it. What if he buys neither sealed sub option, but goes and gets a ported subwoofer model instead with DRAC Live bass control and art in the mix? Will it make it easy to combine his 2 sealed SB16 Ultras with 1 or maybe 2 ported subs?
So I'm not worried about sealed versus ported, but I'm still worried about matching capabilities because just like I said before, it doesn't know what the headroom actually is on these things. So the safest answer here is you get the 3 identical subs.
Yeah. Because if you get the bigger sub, then what do you do?
That's right.
You're going to have these 2. Then you're going to look at your 2 other subs and go, why are you so
That's right.
underpowered compared to my new sub? And then it's just a rabbit hole that you go down. Just either upgrade them all to something bigger.
Quite a bit from SB16 Ultras.
I know. Or just get one that matches.
Yeah.
Brendan has an LG TV and a Tandem receiver. He still controls the setup with a Harmony remote. Brendan and his wife just used the LG's built-in app, so naturally they're making use of the eARC connection, and that's working well for them, except it's eARC, and it's ARC, and it's CEC, and it sucks. Sometimes they'll pause whatever they are watching, and if they leave it a bit too long, the LG TV screensaver comes on, if that happens, and then instead of resuming whatever they were watching, they decide to just turn the system off. The Harmony sends the off command to the TV and the receiver, but only the receiver actually turns off. If the TV is showing its screensaver, you have to wake it back up first before you can turn the TV off. So in this specific scenario, the TV stays powered on when they press the off button on the Harmony remote. And when that happens, the TV automatically switches itself to use its built-in speakers rather than the eARC port because it detects that the AV receiver is powered off, the TV is still on. It's easy enough to press help on the Harmony remote and power off the TV. But the next time they turn the system on, the TV is still using its built-in speakers. Yeah. So, is there a way to stop that from happening and to make the LG TV always use the eARC port no matter what? Or is he going to have to reprogram his Harmony remote so that it always sends some sort of button press to the TV first before sending the command to power off? That is the solution.
That is the very not that difficult solution.
I know. I'm like, I thought I was going to have to explain that to you, but you've already explained it to me. And yes. So you have two options in my mind. You have a power off the TV normal one that you always press, and then you have a second one that you're like, oh, if we've left the room and then this thing is powered on still and in this weird situation, then you have a second button that you then use to do the other power off. Or you just reprogram your normal power off button to do the thing that you just said.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. This is literally we're adding one step to the power off command for the LG TV, which is that when I go to power off, because I mean it gives you the option that doesn't come with the original remote. With the original remote, you got a power toggle, right? You got one power button, turns the TV on, turns the TV off. On the Harmony, it definitely gives you discrete power on and discrete power off, or the power toggle. That's going to be in the code base. And instead of saying, hey, the power off command for this TV is power off, or even power toggle, now the power off command for this TV is okay, wait half a second, and then power off. That's the new power off command. And it's like, yep, that's what you're going to do here, man. Because look, there is no getting around this problem with the TV. You can't, like, you can tell it, use the eARC port. That is my sound output. And the TV is still going to be, because there's no turning off HDMI CEC when you're using eARC, it's still going to be like, but I don't have a sound bar or an AV receiver attached, and you don't want silence, right? There's no way that you want silence, so I'm going to turn my TV speakers back on, and there's no way around that. So,
right. Yeah. In a different room, he's got a projector. He originally thought he'd need to run a wire around the winding path to the other side of the room, so he went ahead and bought a 65-foot fiber optic HDMI cable for monoprice. But now he's figured out a shorter path for his HDMI cable. It's still about 50 feet long, but not the full 65 anymore. Would there be any benefit to returning the 65-foot fiber optic cable that he bought in favor of a shorter 50-foot length? You mean other than the price savings?
Right.
Yeah. Also, how sharp of a bend is okay with the fiber optic HDMI cable? So, other than the price, there is no benefit.
Right.
I mean,
so look, this is a fair question because we see the stuff all the time of how sometimes HDMI cables, when they get too long, they start having signal dropouts or sparklies or something like that. But that's not the case with fiber optic. With fiber optic, the regular electrical signal is being converted at one end into pulses of light and then being converted back from pulses to light into electrical signals again. And it doesn't matter how long that fiber optic cable is in between, although I think the practical limit is 330 feet. Is it 300? It's 100 meters. So. So 330 feet. But yeah, I think that has more to do with just what's readily available.
But there's other ones out there that will go further, but they just have to have like junction boxes in them and stuff like that to boost the signal.
There's no performance downgrade from going from the 50-foot link to the 65 link. There's no performance increase by going from the 65 link to the 50-foot link. So yeah, other than if you could return it and save. But what we're literally talking about, like $1.10 is the difference in price between those two links of the monoprice fiber optic cable. So I don't think it's even worth the hassle or the postage that you're going to pay on it. So I would keep the 65, and if you got a little extra, I'm sure there's somewhere you can tuck the little bit of extra length in that fiber optic cable.
As far as the bend that you can put in it, I mean, how sharp of a bend do you need? Because, I mean a right angle going around the conduit would be fine. I mean, I get HDMI or fiber optic cables, and they are just wound up in
That's
little
right.
circles. I mean, how does it need to be sharper than that?
Yeah.
Because don't pinch it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, like not sharp enough to kink it. If you have kinked the fiber optic cable, then you have ruined it. But other than that, you can bend it about as tight as that bend will go before it kinks.
Yeah, whatever that is. So he's heard us mention that Panasonic Blu-ray players typically have a second IR remote code setting so that you could potentially use two players in the same room but not have both of them respond to a single remote. So one remote for each player independently. So does that same capability exist for Denon receivers? He needed an amplifier to power his Zone 2 setup, and he has an old Denon receiver he preferred to use, but he ran into issues where both Denon receivers were responding to IR remote commands, and all he wants is his old Denon to do is to power on and off whenever he's using Zone 2 and act like a dumb amplifier, not do anything else. So he wound up using an old Pioneer receiver to power Zone 2 instead, but if there's a way to use the two Denon receivers together, he preferred that.
It depends.
Well, and I've never heard of two different IR codes for receivers. I've heard of it for players, but not for receivers. But there are sometimes ways of turning, I mean, the way that you would do this if you knew what you were doing, which I am not, and it was a receiver with a RS-232 port, is you would do it through the RS-232 port, and you would control it that way instead of controlling it via IR. You just literally put some black tape over the IR receiver and then do everything through RS-232. Because I don't think there's an IR. There's a trigger, like a 12-volt trigger in
trigger outs, yeah, but
there's only outs,
not in, yeah. The answer is this depends. It depends on exactly what models of Denons you're talking about. Because, like, for example, this is from the X7200W, so we're going back a ways, but it had 4 different code bases that you could program its remote, and they were right there on the remote, and it's in the manual, and so it is possible. There are Denons that have this, but none of the modern ones do, right? Any of the 800 series that we'd be looking to buy today, they don't have this capability. So, I mean, that's basically about it. I don't know exactly what model his old one was, so there's a chance, but you can find it in the model. It's literally just called Remote ID, so you can look that up in the manual, and if it has it, then it has it. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
How long is this? All right, we'll do one more and then we'll be done.
Is that all? We're leaving a lot.
Are we? We're on 8. How many questions?
We got 13 on the list, and then 2 more after that.
Whose fault is that?
Somebody had 20 minutes of personal updates at the beginning of this podcast.
I did not have 20 minutes.
It was
you. You did a movie review that took forever.
I did a movie review.
Mohsen in Australia. First up, he went ahead and opened up the 28 terabyte hard drive that he bought from Amazon Australia, and so far so good. No weird noises or operational issues at all, and it's holding and playing back his disk backups just fine. Did I miss this one too? Are all these questions from when I was? Oh, that's right, because you and Joe went on forever.
That's
all right. So now to his question. He's still using his ultra short throw projector, and he doesn't plan on changing that anytime soon. Over time, he has almost completely blacked out his theater room, including covering many surfaces in the room in black velvet, and about the only light colored thing left is the air conditioning unit. So he's enjoying deep black levels in good contrast with his current setup. The screen he is using is from XY Screens. It's motorized, but it does not roll down. Instead, it rises up.
Yes, it's a floor rising screen.
So I was like, what are you talking about? Okay.
Cases on the bottom, and
I thought he had to pull it down manually and then it would rise up with the press of a button. With a crazy design. All right, I understand. Yes. So it does roll down after he rises.
That's right.
It up.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's not exactly okay. So he could have said it a different way.
Well, that's my writing. That's not his.
Well, I don't like that.
Okay.
And he does value the clean look that this can provide at the front of the room for when he's just listening with the screen rolled down. The screen size is 120 inches. The material is a gray PVC, but with a coating to make it a 1.0 game. He likes the way his current image looks, and he likes the motorized roll-up form factor, but he's read about the improvements that a screen specifically made for ultra-short throw projectors can potentially make. So he's maybe interested in getting a screen like that. To fit within his budget, though, it would need to be a fixed frame screen. He found a Fresnel UST...
That's just how it's pronounced.
Snell?
That's how it's spelled, but that's how it's pronounced. Fresnel.
Fresnel, with an S in the middle of the word, but nobody says it.
Well,
you can't
French.
do that. UST screen that's priced at 1,800 Australian at 120 inches, but putting a fixed frame screen on his wall would also mean it's slightly further away from his seats for his current motorized screen setup. And he also found a 132-inch lenticular UST screen selling for 1,600 Australian. Was either of those two screens still an improvement that is truly worthwhile? Which one would be the very best? And if we're factoring his enjoyment of having a motorized screen versus switching to a fixed frame screen, is a potential improvement to the image worth the sacrifice in form factor? There's no world in which I think you should get this.
Not in your room. Not in your room.
So I've written an article. I'll try to find it. I've written an article about this that basically is like, stop buying UST screens.
Okay.
And the reason is because most of the time these and they are, the whole reason for them being suggested is because they're ambient light rejecting. Okay. You don't have ambient light.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. He's
So
really
therefore,
blacked out his theater.
What is the point of the ambient light rejecting screen? No other performance metric is being improved by a UST screen, but these ALR ambient light rejecting screen, ALR screens. No other. In fact, there are some downsides to it, like hot spotting and other things that can happen because of designs that can with some of the ALR screens. So there's no world in which I think you should buy this. You prefer what you have. What you have is perfect for your room. You don't have any ambient light to reject.
That's right. Yeah.
So what benefit are you getting? And the answer is none. You're spending well over $1,000 to get a screen that doesn't have the form factor you like, is either smaller in the your field of view because it's on the wall, or it's too big for, so it'll be a dimmer image because you'll get a 132-inch screen on your wall so that you have the right field of view. But now the ultra short throw projector is not going to be able to put as much light up on it because it's a bigger screen. I just don't see any benefit. Any benefit.
No, you don't need this. You also got to be careful because UST and ALR are not the same thing. Ambient light rejecting and ultra short throw often go hand in hand, but they are not the same thing. And I'm not familiar with Fresnel ultra short throw screens, because Fresnel type screens, ambient light rejecting, ALR definitely, but Fresnel is usually what you use for long throw. That's the one that will scatter sideways light sideways and upwards and downwards light back upwards and downwards, and then the projector has to be more or less right in line with your eyes or as close as you can get to it. But that's what a Fresnel screen is for. Whereas the lenticular, the sawtooth screen, we definitely see those with ultra short throws, but that's all about rejecting overhead lights. And you don't have overhead lights, you got black velvet up there instead. So the other thing is, if you went for the lenticular screen, the image would be brighter. But you do get some artifacts from that type of screen because the gain is high, so you get some hot spotting. And also the black level gets less black because the entire thing gets brighter. And you have this gray screen right now that's giving you, slightly artificially, if you want to call it that, deeper black levels, but you also have a completely blacked out room. So yeah, I do not think you should do this. I think you should stick with what you have.
Yeah.
There's two very short ones if you want to skip the rest. I really want to do Francis, and I really want to do John at the very end.
All right.
Okay.
Francis came across an auction for an Epson TW9400, which is the same as the 5050UB. And even though the descriptions of the projector has a defect, a vertical purple line towards the left side of the image, he was able to get it for such a low bid that he went ahead and got it. Yeah. So before he goes and maybe sends it off to Epson to have it repaired, do we have any inkling as was actually wrong with it? He was actually able to pretty much ignore the line in use, but as it's shown in the photos, there are sometimes two vertical lines now. So is this going to just keep getting worse? And the answer is yes. This is this is literally why they're fixing one of the reasons why they're replacing my screen, because I had a vertical line. This is not going to go away. This is going to get worse. The panels, or however many LCD panels there are in there, are starting to fail, and you are you're going to have to get that repaired. So
yeah,
yes.
this is a panel problem, almost certainly. I mean, we can't say that for literally 100% certain, but this is almost certainly a panel problem. Now, he got it very, very cheap, so he's not really out much money, but this is not going to be a cheap repair. They are basically going to have to replace the LCD panels in this projector. Now, Epson, very often, if you had bought this under warranty, they just give you a refurbished projector in its place. That's the way Epson usually handles this. But this is not going to be a warranty repair scenario. So yeah, don't expect this to be super cheap. You're still going to come out ahead versus having bought a 5050 UB brand new. I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, there's going to be some money to spend on this. Unfortunately, I wish I had better news for you, but I expect this is a full panel replacement that's going on here.
So what's the other one you want to do?
Very end, John. We can hit that one real quick. Yeah.
John's been hearing us talk about Dolby Atmos height virtualization, but he's run into some confusion. He's using a 5.1 speaker setup. His sources are an Apple TV 4K and a Panasonic UB420 Ultra HD Blu-ray player. His receiver is a Marantz SR5013.
Yeah.
And he's not getting any options to use a Dolby Atmos at all. Is there some setting he needs to change? Maybe in his source devices and not the receiver. Isn't that an older receiver?
It is just old enough that it does not have Dolby Atmos height virtualization. That is the thing. Now, I do not blame you whatsoever. First of all, if we're just talking about this stuff and we're saying how you can use it on Denon and Marantz receivers, which I have certainly said, it's like, okay, why would you think that the thing didn't have it if it had Dolby Atmos? But Dolby Atmos was available in receivers, and Dolby Surround Upmixer was available in receivers before Dolby Atmos height virtualization became a thing. And the SR5013 is just old enough that it is before Dolby Atmos height virtualization. But on top of that, there is a listening mode called Virtual. So you might be like, well, is that it? Because that's a pretty reasonable thing to think to oneself when you see a listening mode that's called Virtual. And then there is also DTS Virtual X, which is their version, but theirs was available slightly before Dolby Atmos height virtualization was. So simple answer is you cannot do Dolby Atmos height virtualization on a Marantz SR5013. It's just not a feature that it has. And unfortunately, it does not have the cross-pollination of the upmixers. So you can't use DTS Virtual X on a Dolby signal, whether that's Dolby Digital or Dolby Digital Plus or Dolby True HD. You can't apply the DTS Virtual X upmixer to a Dolby signal. It doesn't allow that cross-pollination. So, bottom line is, if you have configured your SR5013 as a 5-speaker setup, it is going to be like, no, I can't do Atmos. I can't do Dolby Surround upmixing. It can still do upmixing from stereo to 5.1. But it's not going to do the virtualization to virtual overhead speakers. But you can do virtual DTS upmixing because it has Virtual X, and that it can do. The actual listening mode that is called Virtual is Denon and Marantz's own thing, and it doesn't really do an overhead simulation. It's more like the headphone upmixing that makes stereo speakers or stereo signals sound like surround sound in headphones, and it does that on a speaker level, and it's kind of weird, and I don't really like it. So that's the complete answer to why you can't do height virtualization from Dolby Atmos on an SR5013. It doesn't have it.
All right, who do we have left?
All right, so who did we skip over before we jumped down there? Brian, right? We missed Brian. So, Brian, we got your email. Carl, we got Carl's email. And then in between Francis and John, we had Dan. So, Dan's email we also got. I also did receive from Rob X and Greg H emails on Monday. So, I believe I have mentioned all emails that are received. If you did not hear your email in the past 3 weeks and you've sent it in the past 3 weeks and I didn't mention your name whatsoever, it means it vanished into ether. We don't think that's happening anymore, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility. So please reach out to us again if you're like, hey, I emailed them and I never heard a peep.
All right, we want to thank our listeners of the week. We want to thank Paul for going to avrant.com and clicking on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link and sending us a PayPal donation, as well as 121 patrons over at patreon.com, including Alvin. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. Paul, thank you for that PayPal donation, and patreon.com/AVRant podcast is where you can go to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So big thanks to our 121 patrons over there. Alvin, thank you for being one of them.
We also got a note of gratitude from Sam, Nathan, Alvin, Brandon, Mohsen, Brian, Paul, Chris, and Mark. Thank you for thanking us.
Yeah, those names one more time were Sam, Nathan, Alvin, Brandon, Mohsen, Brian, Paul, Chris, and Mark. Thanks so much for the notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
If you want to get your question answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. For AV Rants, I'm Tom Mantry.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com.
This is AV Rant.
Now go out and listen to something.